Do you pay attention to the lore? Yes? No? When it comes to enjoying Jaws of Hakkon, I believe this is the first question you need to ask, because how you will answer actually says a lot on whether you'll enjoy this DLC or not. There are a lot of wants, a lot of expectations for Inquisition DLC. Some want Wolf Hunt, answers for what happened at the end of Inquisition. Some want new schematics, armor, weapons to throw around, new abilities to shove in an enemy's face. And others want to know more about Thetis. What hasn't been seen before? Where did people come from? Where are they going? Well, let me break down what the DLC actually offers, with as little spoilers as I can manage. Frostback Basin is an entire region for you to explore, with all the enemies and goodies to enjoy. 7 rifts, 6 camps, 16 points of interest, 3 ocularms, 12 shards, a locked door with a codex entry regarding a certain lost figure of elven history, 1 specific unique armor, 1 new Inquisitor ability, 3 Astrariums, and 3 Avarian vendors. Things to buy from these new vendors? Avarian furniture to decorate your throne and skyhold, tier 4 armor and weapon schematics, and crafting materials. As far as the people involved, you'll learn more about the Avar. Not just the idea of their hyper-religious ideologies, but their people, their views on strength and honor, and magic. Also, they have an arena that kind of feels like the dwarven provings of Dragon Age Origins. Lore-wise, you'll find more historical background on Emperor Draken and Orlais before the Second Blight, the Seekers of Truth, and the original Inquisition. You can start the DLC anytime after moving to Skyhold, and if you so choose, even after the end of the main storyline. And because you can start it after the main story, I imagine you guessed it already, the result of Jaws of Hakkon does not affect the main plot. Matter of fact, the DLC's story does not cause immediate impact to the state of the Inquisition. However, it does give greater weight to the world in which the Inquisitor, Hawk, and the hero Ferelden live. If you're expecting a witch hunt-like DLC lead-in for Dragon Age 4, I'm afraid this is not the DLC you're looking for. Not yet, anyway. What the DLC does provide, however, are small hints, little tastes of the future, and what's to come. Perhaps for Dragon Age 4, 5, what's out of our reach, and perhaps what's over our heads. And this is where I have to turn on the spoiler warning. My general opinion of Jaws of Hakkon? It's a fun adventure for those looking for about 8 to 10 hours worth of content. Fights in this installment, especially bosses, are more difficult and rewarding than the base game, which I thoroughly enjoyed. Combat's the same, except the new Inquisitor ability, which does not affect the cooldown for Mark of the Rift. That said, for those who want to know more lore-wise, I think you'll be more inclined to play this DLC. Story spoilers on Jaws of Hakkon are now in effect. You've been warned, but if you're leaving now, thanks for joining. My honest thoughts on Jaws of Hakkon? Let's start with the Avar. The Avar are a welcome change from the civilized and cultured set of religions and Fereldans that we've grown accustomed to in Inquisition. In this DLC, you're exposed to 2 sets of Avarian groups, the Hakkonites, the hilariously named baddies of this DLC, and the Avar Friends in the east. The good ones you'll see in everyday settings on the cliffs. More noticeably, you'll be able to see how their customs, well, they're not as wild as you may think. Hard workers who believe in spirits as their gods, who compete in physicality and observe honor and civility. I like how Bioware actually takes that human approach to this subset of Avar, who left the Hakkonites to look like a tribe of rabid dogs. The contrast works well. Now, Jaws of Hakkon establishes interesting things in this DLC. One of my previous videos has already talked about this, but let me just say it again. Not only are the Avar in tune with spirits, but they also have a tried and true method of separating spirit and soul, such as, Anders and Justice. That's game-changing. But what's curious is that this specific discovery is set in a side quest with Sigurd the Exile, how Avarian mages are raised with the help of a spirit. And the spirit possession also lies in the main quest as well, while Flemeth has said a soul is not forced upon the willing. Possession and spirit joinings come into play during this DLC, and the main quest and also the side. It sets a stage, a context, a precedent for future spirit joinings that we've seen quite a few times in Dragon Age's past. Wynn and the Spirit of Faith, Anders and Justice, Evangeline and Faith. This DLC doesn't address the questions that the end of Inquisition left. It answers the questions that we may not have asked, but definitely will in time. Just like addressing whether all the old gods were male, or even real. Well, one of the old gods, Rezikali, was female. Or is female, considering she's still alive. And Geldodran, one of the forgotten ones in Elven history, was real. But none of these things are mentioned in the main plot, it's all side quests. And while the main plot has its own narrative on the Inquisition of old and Inquisitor Meridan, I keep shifting eyes towards the side quests and exploration because BioWare quietly put these revelations, these moments of foreshadowing, separate from the main quest. And while there are those who will rush through the main plot and call it a day, those who look to satisfy their curiosity of Thedas' history are rewarded in this DLC for engaging every nook and cranny. Looking at it, Jaws of Hakkon matches with what Leviathan DLC did for Mass Effect 3. That DLC was a big history lesson, in which we find the truth about the Reaper's origins and gain support for the war. The greatest discovery the galaxy has ever seen. In Jaws of Hakkon, we gain greater context for the Inquisition, the Seekers of Truth, the state of human and elven relations before the Second Blight, and Inquisitor Meridan's last mission. Inquisitor Meridan, I think, will hit hard for players. He's a man, an elven man, who was shoved by circumstance into the role of Inquisitor and leader of the Seekers of Truth. He's so alike to our hero of Ferelden, our Hawk, our own Inquisitor. To be honest, I think he identifies best with sarcastic Hawk, but that's neither here nor there. What counts is that even though he just wanted to be a soldier and fight, he became a leader, and he sacrificed himself and his happiness to do the right thing. The overall main quest is like a condensed version of the original main plot. Big bad need to fight the big bad, gain allies like the Avar, plot twist something's up with the thing, aka person we're trying to find, clean up the mess. But what I think really makes the main quest shine is that it holds a deeper meaning for players, though they might not realize it at first. In truth, Inquisitor Meridan is just another player character, but lost to the ages. Centuries from now in Thedas, his fate will be our hero of Ferelden, Hawk. Inquisitor Lavalon, Trevelyan, Adar, Kadash, take your pick. The companions he had, his own lover, were forgotten. Meridan being a mage and leader of the Seekers, forgotten. His friendship with Emperor Draken, forgotten. As I was listening to the very short interaction between him and my Inquisitor, and the memories that he left behind, all I could think about is that despite the choices and love we put into our own player characters, in the sands of time, history will only remember the basics. Talking to a Meridan was like my Inquisitor looking at herself in the face. Everything leading up to your confrontation with a Meridan is simply a quick revisit of the player character whose story you never played. But because of your possible history as a Warden, as Hawk, or the Inquisitor, you know the story all too well. I like Jaws of Hakkon. I think it paves the way towards the future of Dragon Age in the most subtle ways. But I do have my qualms. Funny enough, I'll start with the Inquisitor. Not a Meridan, but our Inquisitor. The Inquisitor's dialogue felt so uninspired. I don't know how to describe it any other way. While I understand the Inquisitor was in a position of learning, researching, and finding, and inquisiting, so much of our interactions were devoid of personality, of sass, of fervor, of tenacity. I know there are some who don't like too much personality in their player character, so they may identify with them. However, it felt barren for a lot of the DLC. If you watch my Asquisitor playthrough, you know that I was agitated the whole way through. The third option, usually reserved for an aggressive outlook, kept reiterating the same mood of, let's just get to business. It was generating that exact emotion every time. The Inquisitor wants to get to business. The Inquisitor wants to get to work. What was that? Oh, history, you say? Just tell me where to go because I don't care. I was very bored. It was like the Inquisitor lost their backbone. The only times where this was distinctively not the case were during 1. The Judgment of Storvaka, and 2. The last chat with Scout Harding. And those two are held until the end of the DLC. It felt like my Asquisitor was left with 2 options. Paragon or neutral, and I didn't want either. Other than that, companions felt muted, banter-wise. While there were a couple of gems, especially if you bring Sarah and Solus with you to the shrine, or Dorian telling you to watch your step at the risk of telling Cullen how you met your doom to gravity, all in all, your companions do not contribute a lot. Perhaps that is why I also felt the Inquisitor was dry during this DLC. The reactions were very short, very curt. I'm glad they gave Scout Harding a larger role in this DLC. I love her, and I think it was a job well done. However, my companions felt more like a bunch of hired mercs who were just doing their job and not raising any informations or words of substance. It was all too quiet. And while I understand DLC is harder to pull voice actors back, this DLC felt a bit emptier than I had hoped. Those two things, our Inquisitor and companions, are the only parts that rubbed me wrong about Jaws of Hakkon. But the DLC itself, I can speculate volumes of what can possibly happen in the future of Dragon Age based on this DLC alone. If I am to talk about the gameplay itself, it's nothing you haven't seen before. Puzzles, fighting, angry people poking sticks inside you. The armor is great though. What American leaves you is actually swanky as hell. And the new Tier 4 schematics are quite nice. But the experience is fleeting if you don't give yourself the time to thoroughly enjoy the new codices that the game has given. Is Jaws of Hakkon worth it? If you pay attention to the lore, yes. The small revelations lead to so many possibilities. If you don't, you may enjoy it. But you're still hack and slashing. If you play the DLC with only purpose of speeding through the main quest, you might want to stick to YouTube and Dragon Age Keep. But for the luxuries for the Inquisitor to enjoy, armor, weapons, and the like, it may satisfy those who want to do more hurt. Jaws of Hakkon is all about enjoying the details, and I hope you have fun with it. My name is Ashe, thanks for watching. If you like this review, please let me know in the comments, and if you don't, by all means let me know down there as well. But I have one question, and it's an important one. What are your opinions on time-exclusive DLC? I'm sure you may know, but Jaws of Hakkon was an Xbox and PC timed exclusive. PS4, PS3, and Xbox 360 users grab it in May. For those who cannot play the DLC yet, perhaps even those who have played it and have dealt with time exclusives for other games, what do you think? Has it affected your interest in buying Hakkon? Will you play it? Or have you already played it? I think it's important to talk about this instance. I don't like exclusivity deals myself, and if it weren't for the PC version, I'd be way more vocal and distraught. But let me know what you think in the comment section. I'd like to hear your thoughts. Fenharel and Ansal, take care, and I will see you next time.